So I have to start by cutting in a row across here, and you can see dandelions from this end to the other in patches. So I'm going to work down through and turn the soil where I'm going to plant, and then I'll make extra excavations out to the sides to get rid of the dandelions I don't want. Now I'm a kind of a lazy person. I don't want to turn every inch of soil in my garden, so I do a minimal till approach. I till only where I'm going to plant. So there will be considerable sections of my garden where I don't turn any soil at all. Raking, the way I do it, may look more like demolition, but basically I pound into the large chunks with the tines of the rake and just roll them over and beat them apart. I happen to have some yarn left over from some past knitting project. I'm just going to tie it at this end and then stretch it on down to the other end and tie it off over there. So from here I go right into hoeing. I'm just scraping the soil down. I try to go, for lettuce and spinach you don't have to go real deep, but I do want my finished row to be below the surface of the rest of the garden. I want it to be a little bit of a catch basin for water, so that water doesn't run off of it when it rains or when I put the hose on it. So I'm actually going to go maybe 3 inches from the top of the raked soil and scrape the extra out of the row. Head lettuce needs a lot of space to develop, but I still plant it close like I do other lettuces. Those might not stand out well. I have a handful of seeds. They're quite small, and that's plenty more than will grow to maturity in this row. By the time the heads are mature, I probably will only have 10 or so in a 3-foot space, but until then I'll be thinning regularly and eating what I thin. So I'm taking all the seeds that I dumped into my hand, pinching a bunch as I would salt, pepper, or some seasoning to add to something I'm cooking in the kitchen, and then broadcasting them throughout the length and width of this section of the row where I'm planting. I aim to get anywhere from 1 to 3 seeds per square inch in the hole, which is an awful lot. They grow quickly, and in a matter of 2 weeks I'll probably be thinning. Well, if it stays cold like this, it might be 3 or 4 weeks. And I'll be thinning through the 2 to 2.5 months that it takes them to mature. The package instructions say to cover these things with 1/4 inch of soil. And I do that simply by picking up soil from around the edges of the trench that I dug for the seeds, and I roll it between my fingers to break up the big clumps. I'm convinced I have about 1/4 inch of soil sprinkled on all this stuff. And the final step is just to kind of pack it down a little bit. But this way, when I water, the soil isn't likely to float away and take the seeds with it. It's a first for me this season to have planted romaine lettuce, but I planted it the way I've always planted every lettuce I've ever grown. I broadcast seed in the row, and Made it very tight. Then I can harvest young plants for salads. I don't have to wait for them to grow up. I do that just by reaching down in the row, trying to pull the plants by the roots. I just grab a bunch of plants all at once and gently pull them up and then snap off the roots. Maybe I find some leaves or whatever that have worked their way down in there. Sometimes I find slugs. When you plant this closely, the leaves hold moisture down, so even when it gets very dry in the garden, you can have a lot of moisture built up amongst the plants, and that will attract slugs and some insects. And if you leave it too long, it'll make the leaves start to rot. It's a little depressing to reach in and feel slime down in there. But because this is so tight, now I've made some nice gaps here, but I have a lot more to go. So I'm going to have to harvest lettuce for salads the next couple of nights to get this under control.